y'all, it's your girl Jane B from C. Jamie Acts. How y'all doing? If this is your first time seeing my face, welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you're returning, hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming back. Y'all, I know I am probably so late with this video, but I really did want to give my thoughts, feelings, and opinions. Wait, do I have lipstick on my teeth? Hold on. Okay, I just want to give my thoughts and opinions about the whole onyeka with the Danish deception. I wanted to throw my 2 cents in the ring, okay? I had a chance to watch this documentary series, whatever we want to call it, like a few times. And it's so interesting because every time I watched it, I learned something different. Like, you know, like you could hear something, but until you really listen, to now you get the general gist of the story. Then you listen again, because now you're catching the little nuances and the little things, inflections, and maybe some parts of the story that I did not catch the first few times, okay? But I have to tell you, first of all, I remember when she was on Colton season. For some reason, I was like in and out of his season in my mind, but I remember her, and no shade, Onyeka, if you ever see this, but that weave was weaving. It was just a lot of weave, and that is the main thing I remembered about her. The black girl with a lot of weave, okay? And it was interesting because at that time, I was gonna say Rachel Lindsay was probably the first black woman that they had on that show that you could really feel she was black coded, black adjacent, had black friends, you know, things of that nature, okay? Albeit, you know, she was extremely intelligent, she was all the amazing things, but you could tell that she still had her foot into the black community. I feel that most of the women, the black women that The Bachelor has on that show in particular, they're always with black women who are white adjacent in some type of way. Now, granted, we did have Michelle Young, who ended up picking 4 black men in her top 4. And then, of course, we had Charity, who ended up picking a full black man. So they were the first mono-racial couple. So, you know, so it's always been that dynamic when you have black women on that show. So by the time we got to Onyeka telling her story about the Danish deception, in my mind, it was already set that she was that black girl who was more white adjacent, the white friends, the white situations. And this is before I even knew anything about her, but I was going into that story with that in mind, okay? So as I'm listening to her story, like probably the first couple of times I watched it, you know, I had a lot of grace for Onyeka, and I'm gonna tell you why. I had grace for her because she, unlike a lot of women, you know, it's so easy to say, oh, I would never do that. I would never. And then the very thing you say you wouldn't ever do, you end up doing. I have been there. Things that I say I would never do, I've done. That's why I don't ever use the word never. I just say it's highly unlikely. It is highly unlikely that I'll be in that situation, but I never say never because you don't know where you'll be. So, you know, I had a lot of grace for Onyeka because I said, you know, she hasn't really had a real true like love boyfriend, whatever. She meets this guy and he's this big hunker, you know, all the things that she wants, her blonde hair, her blue eyes. And then she got caught up because what happens is the fantasy of what you think your life is going to be and the fantasy of how you see your life is the way I believe she approached that situation. I believe she approached that situation from the fantasy, like the romantic side. I was away. I was in Croatia. I see this hot guy. He offered us drinks. He had a bathing suit, muscle. You know, that's fairy tale, honey. That's the stuff fairy tales are made of. Though that's the thing that Harlequin romances are made of. And that's what she had. And then, of course, with all his deceptions, all the lies, all the manipulation, and her wanting to hang on to that. Because even though I gave her grace at the beginning, I was like, well, you know, we've all been there. I can see when you get caught up and you're living in your fantasy, you know, it's hard to let that person go, you know, this, that, and the other. But the more I listened to her story, right, I was like, you know, sometimes we can know something is wrong, like deep down in the pit of our stomach, because one thing, your soul don't ever lie to you. Your spirit, your soul, your gut, it never ever lies. So I'm safe to say, I'm confident in saying she had red flags. And she knew that was a mess. She knew it, but the fantasy was overtaken, because let me tell you something. Wants, desires, needs is a powerful thing, and you can have like complete red flags, but if your needs and your desires is saying no, but look at this fantasy, look at this Harlequin romance, you gonna forget them red flags. And that's exactly what she did, because listen, by the 4th, 5th chapter, when she was talking about Olympics and she was talking about Danish royalty, in my mind, I was like, because I know me. I be Googling, y'all. I be Googling. Simple stuff I'll Google. Like, if I don't know a word, what does that mean? Hold on, let me Google real quick. I will Google. So this is a very intelligent young lady. Okay, she's intelligent. She's definitely, I can tell she definitely has the book smarts, and she just seems like she has a lot of common sense to her in the sense of, like, you know, just how she moves, how she goes about living her life. That's because she didn't want to see it. And that's the thing. You know, of course, you know, she told the story from the side of him not doing the things he was supposed to do, from him manipulating. But, you know, she was very complicit in a lot of the decisions that was going on, because that fantasy outlived all common sense. That fantasy outlived all, you know, red flags. And so she goes along, you know, with all of these things, knowing it's no good. And I'm going to tell you another thing. At the point where her family and friends got involved, I would love to question Onyeka and really ask her, did you have a red flag and felt like you needed to kind of, not warn your friends per se, but was there any time that you felt like, I may need to protect my friends, especially once you found out he was a gambler, once you found out that he had borrowed money from your other friends from crypto. Once you realized that, and once you saw the amount of money, did it ever like make you think maybe I should talk to other people, and maybe I should just kind of even if you didn't tell them the full story, because we know you was like covert operations. But was there a time when you said, let me protect my people? Because I feel like you kind of allowed your people to go down that rabbit hole as well. Because I'm like, where was the protection for your people? Where was the point with your people that you said, wait a minute, something may be a little fishy. Let me just kind of give them a little heads up. But you know, again, going back to like what the heart wants, what the heart wants is what the heart wants. So you'll overlook everything because you're like, no, it's probably not that bad. But you knew he was taking money from you that he didn't pay back. You knew that he was already putting you at a deficit. You went from no debt, a nice savings, no car loans, no student loans, to now owing money. Like, at what point, listen, we've all been a little delusional, myself included. I'm not going to sit here and try to act like, no, only Onyeka. No. We've all been delusional. But I have to tell you, when it comes to me, one thing I've never really been delusional about is my money. And that's because I work. I work for myself. So the money I make is by the sweat of my brow. The money I've earned is by, my hands, my feet. So to actually give someone money, lend someone money. Now, I will give you a gift. And when I give you a gift, I don't expect anything back from the gift. That's yours. But if I lend you money, which I don't do, because if you don't pay me back, we're not going to be friends no more. And that's why there's banks. Did y'all know that? Did y'all know that you can go to a bank and get money out of a bank? That's what they're there for. So when people start asking you for a loan, why can't you go to a bank that legitimately can give you what you need and what you can afford and what you can pay? You know how it works with the banks. But no, that's not going to work. So the fact that you're giving him this money, he's not giving you the money back, he's getting more money from you. You find out he has a gambling addiction. And then at one point, you actually put a credit card, you gave him a credit card and he took money out. Like, at what point do the delusion end? And the crazy part is, it really didn't end until you saw that he took advantage of your sister. Because up until that point, you were still ready to rock and roll. You were still, I mean, the fact that you was gonna have a wedding after you found out he took money from your friends, and after he took money from you, and after he had a gambling addiction, you still want to have a wedding. You still want, that is so incredible to me. Like how your mind your mind can really get so wrapped up. It's almost like you're in like sticky goo. It's almost like you're in quicksand, that your mind just gets so, it's like every bit of common sense just leaves your body and you go down this rabbit hole because you want it so bad, because you think when you get what you want, you're going to be happy. And sometimes the things that we go after really make us miserable. We just think we're going to be happy, because with all of these things just dogpiling and the money he still hadn't paid you back, then you get engaged and then you was grateful that he was the man he was, and you was gonna have a wedding, and then after he got everything he needed from you, guess what? He let you go. Honey, the green card was there. That means he was already, could be in this country and eventually apply for citizenship if he wanted to. Everything he needed from you, he got. He did exactly what he needed to do. And it's so funny because, in my mind, when I think of like green card, I'm always thinking of people who look like me, okay, to be honest. I never think of anyone from a Danish country or a European country or wherever out here scamming. So everybody's scamming. You know what I mean? It's so easy to think that only one group of people or one type of people scam. No, everybody out here scamming. If they can scam, they're gonna scam. And he just played his card. I would love to have met him and just to hear how he talked, because I need to see if I would have got caught up in the magic of him. Because the way that all these people got taken, I'm talking about people with money. That one man who said to her, I thought you were down because you Nigerian. See, you wasn't offended enough for me. How is he going to say that to you and you not get offended? How is that a thing? How is that a thing? Anyway, I would have loved to just speak to him, because I would have wanted to just hear the way he speaks, hear how he presents himself. I mean, in his pictures, now I've heard people say he was not attractive. I don't agree with that. I do think there was definitely an attraction to him. I mean, absolutely. I mean, he was a nice looking man. He was not unfortunate looking. So it's not like, so stop it, y'all. I'm talking about he wasn't that cute. The man was attractive. It's very easy to see how she was attracted to him. But I would love to have seen, because the levels of delusionment that Onyeka was in, and just the things that she lost, okay, and all the people that was deceived, I just needed to hear his voice and just hear the way he speaks and the way he talks. Because the one thing I'm just amazed by, and there needs to be a study, and I'm sure there is, the way that a liar lies, and a manipulative liar, right? The fact that, well, aren't they all manipulative, right? That's what lies are. But the fact that he can come up with these lies so fast, that is fascinating to me, because I am a terrible liar. You'll be like, Jane, stop, you lying. Like, you would know I was lying immediately. Immediately, you would know I was lying. You'd be like, girl, you lying, stop. But he was coming up with these things. And then, you know what? I feel like my mind is all over the place because I don't have any notes. This is just all off the dome. And then another thing, too, that makes me kind of question Onyeka a little bit is the fact that because I've been here when you really have a fantasy outcome in mind with something, and everything you do is for that goal, and you kind of forget about like what's around you. I have been there. And when she had the roaming realtor Instagram, I guess, or webpage, the fact that they were doing all this content together. And let me tell y'all, I saw some of the content, and I have to tell you, it didn't look natural. I've seen other couples, I've seen other interracial couples, I've seen couples that do things, and most of them, there's like a natural chemistry between the two people. I did not see that with them. I saw it just seemed very staged, it seemed very rehearsed, it seemed led by her. So she was very complicit in all of this. And although I do want to give her grace on one end, I have to say, you know, the revelation and the realization and the real growth is going to come from when she says, you know what, y'all, if I'm being real honest, I cannot blame his family, because, you know, she was trying to blame his family. I cannot blame friends. I have to look at myself and say, what was it about me that was willing to throw it all away for this man who was lying to me, because she was getting something out of it too. That's one thing I know for sure. You are always complicit in things that happen in your life. Because remember the old adage, it takes two to tango. Period. Good, bad, or indifferent. And in her case, she was aiding and abetting in that situation. She wasn't a little innocent lamb, like a little baby just being led. No, she was very complicit in a lot of the things that happened. I think for Onyeka to really get to the next level, she's going to have to first admit, I think she said she has been in therapy, so that's a good thing. And hopefully that she has, you know, started to really admit and own that she played a part in this as well. Okay? Because, yeah, there's a scammer, but you to scare me, but you kind of have to be a part for the scammer to scam you. You know, like, I remember I heard this saying one time that said, you can't stop birds from flying around your head, but you could stop birds from making a nest in your hair. So things are gonna always come around. That's just like, don't hate the player, hate the game. It's all like the same concept. Like, yeah, people are gonna scam. That's like when you get calls all the time scamming you, trying to get your money. Yeah, they can call you. You can even pick up, but guess what? You can hang up or you can say no. So remember, it always takes two. And I'm sure she, by this time, because this has been, well, I know they got officially divorced, but this has been like a few weeks after she's put out her her TikTok stories. And I'm hoping that she's learning. But you know, this is going to be a long recovery for her. But I think she's going to get her real freedom. She's going to get a true freedom once she owns her part. And that goes for all of us. That goes for me. That goes for you. Like, once you really own, like, your part in something, you're free after that. Because you can't blame anybody. Because, you know, being a victim, I always say, has privileges. Because when you're a victim, you could always blame somebody. But when you just take ownership, there's no one to blame anymore. You know what I mean? There's no one to blame. It was me. I did my part. And once you admit that, you are free. Okay? So I just hope that she gets to that point in her life where she could just say, you know what? It was me. I saw every single red flag and chose to ignore it. I knew when that second the 15,000 and then another 3,000 after that, when that was coming out of my bank, I knew then. But the fantasy of I'm getting engaged, listen, I was on The Bachelorette. I may not have made it with Colton, okay, but I made it with Martin. You know, it was that kind of thing. And sometimes we have to peel back the layers of that fantasy. You know, that comes with age and it comes with time. I have to tell you that. But we have to peel back the layers of these fantasies that we have in our head and say, what really is? You know, what's really in front of me? What's really going on? There's nothing wrong with manifesting, because I believe in that, because I've done it and I've manifested. There's nothing wrong with that. But the gift of manifestation is that in most cases, you put out what you want. You just leave it, you know, you just put it out there, and then you get divine inspiration to do things to make what you manifest come quickly. But in that, the minute you have to work hard, that ain't manifesting. And by work hard, let me explain what I mean. I mean manipulate. The minute you have to manipulate, that's not a blessing. That's not manifestation. Manifestation is allowing. You allow, you do things. It should feel good as you're doing things. And then it comes to fruition. And then sometimes it'll come to fruition and you're like, oh shoot, it actually happened. That kind of thing. That's how it works. Not by you working hard and you doing all these things and you acting like, no, I don't want your money. All that's game. All of that, I didn't want your money. And why are we talking about money at the beginning? I just thought about that. Why are we talking about money in the first couple of days? That's because she wasn't comfortable. She felt unworthy. That's why she was talking about money. My thing is, haven't you ever heard of fake it till you make it? Oh yes, hi darling, this hotel is fabulous. Oh my God, this is amazing. Just go along with it. The minute she started acting like I'm not deserving, I'm unworthy, he knew. He said, oh, I got one here. He knew you was a hit or a lick or however it goes. Because it was just like you wasn't even giving him anything to work after, run after. You was easy, to be honest. I hate to say it. You were an easy target. You were really an easy target. And that's why he was able to manipulate you, because even if you did have any common sense, he knew you set it on the side. He knew you put that common sense on the back burner. He knew it. That's why he was able to go in. Because I'm telling you, if you was gonna give him a run for his money, or if you came in, I'm broke, I ain't got nothing, thank you for my Chanel bag. Like if you came in with that, he probably would have left you alone a lot sooner. My bank accounts are empty. My credit cards are high. Go in with that and then see, what he would have said. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I just wanted to jump in and say something because I felt like I did have a lot to say. I just didn't, think about it necessarily. But then I said, you know what, let me jump on here today and give my 2 cents, okay? And Onyeka, I really wish you the best, honestly. I wish that you fully learn from your experience and help others. And I'm glad that your story, though, has helped, because even though you're still developing and you're learning and your growth, we have stopped Martin. She said Martin has been stopped in Tulum because he got $2,500 from a woman and she was going to give him more, but then she saw your story. So Onyeka, in general, you did a good thing. Now, specifically, you just have to work on the things you need to work on. And that's all of us, okay? We are all a work in progress, okay? So that's all I have. I'm sure I'll think of things later, like, I should have said this, I should have said that, but I said the main parts that I wanted to say. So thank you guys. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to this video. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you know every time I upload. Definitely hit the thumbs up. And if you leave a comment, I'll read it and hopefully I can comment back. Okay? So thank you guys again. This is Jane B. And until the next time, peace.